Welcome to Going Pro. I'm Clay Mottley, and in this series we look at what it takes to go from an amateur or a hobbyist to a professional in and around the music industry. In this episode, we're going to look at a hired gun. Now, a hired gun for music is usually someone that you bring in to either accent your band, maybe an instrumentalist that you've not normally used, or someone who has to sub for a regular member of your band for whatever reason. Hired guns are interesting because they don't have the backstory. They don't have the history with your band. They haven't gone to 50 shows and 100 rehearsals. They're coming in kind of cold and having to play the song, all the songs of that night at a really high level with little to no practice, sometimes no rehearsal. So it takes a very special set of skills to do this job really well. We're going to talk to Tod Ellsworth, who is a guy that I met when I first hired him to be a hired gun in my band. He did an amazing job, and I've used him several times since. And so we're going to talk to him about what it takes to be that person who can step in at a moment's notice and play really well. What are the things, the skills that he has and does to let him succeed in this job? And what are the things that you can do as a band to prepare to get a hired gun? So we're going to find out about that. This is Going Pro, Hired Gun.
I had moved to Nashville after I got out of school. My wife moved there first. She was a singer and dancer, and she and I actually met at King's Dominion. Yeah. She was singing and dancing in a group. I was playing in another group, and she got a gig at Opryland theme park when they had one there. And we'll hang out for 6 months and then we'll head to Texas.
And it's a music town.
And it's a music town, so there's got to be a gig.
That's right.
You know, I found out it was called Music City. I had no idea. This is what happens when you grow up in Arlington. There's one country radio station, and It wasn't really, I was a rock guy.
We talked before, you mentioned you played with the blues singer, a lady named...
Marion James.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like, called Nashville's Queen of the Blues, God rest her soul. Played on one of her album release parties, and that was kind of crazy because I was actually subbing for their bass player who actually just got imprisoned. And I'll never forget sitting there, about ready to play. And Marion's, a good friend of mine just walked in and I like to this is my friend Billy Cox. And I was like, what? And Billy Cox, for those who don't know, was in the band of Gypsies with Jimi Hendrix. And he and Hendrix, go way back to when they were soldiers at Fort Campbell. And he's literally walking, and I'm like, you want to talk about my heart and just everything, just like, it was just like, okay. And it's not like I really maybe rehearsed once with this band or something like that, but I really worked hard at home on the record and just really made sure I had it together.
You've had a side of the music business that most people only read about.
I think I've worked just about all sides of it, outside of working in a publishing company. We produced music for retail stores to play and sell. Mm-hmm. Mainly mom and pops that are all around, gift shops. So you see those racks of CDs back in today not anymore because the industry's changed.
But I remember, yeah.
Cracker Barrel, Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, things like that.
And there were seasonal or holiday or style, like a Celtic CD
everything you can think of. Piano, classical piano, jazz, relaxation music, all that. I did sales for a while, and 5 years later, I was managing a sales team. My next step from management was actually developing all the product for the record label.
Which is a pretty cool music job.
It was a great job. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. And I learned a lot we had an in-house art director, so we worked on album covers. And, I learned everything about that kind of stuff, with I wrote copy for the records, picked material. And then we'd work with outside producers to create projects.
But it's everything a typical album or recording is. It's just not the style of music that people think of when they think I'm going to go buy an album. But it's everything.
It's not really artist driven, like I said. It's more of a lifestyle driven. Although we did have a few artists. The process is the same. I'm 52 now, and it's actually when I turned 40 when I decided my mother had passed away, and it was just not a great time in my life, but it really showed me that life is short. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote down my goals of what I wanted to do. I wanted to join a private band, start doing weddings and corporates, where I know that's where the best money is for a musician.
Sure.
Right there. So to get that going, because I was doing a lot of $50 gigs in Nashville, $75 gigs. It's like no way I could support a family on, $150 a week, whatever it was at the time, full time. I just got a couple of names. I moved to Richmond. He gave me Steve Bassett's name. I can't say enough great things about that man. He called me up and called me back really pretty immediately and said, hey, what do you what are you doing? Because Kevin referred me, and he said, hey, what are you doing next week or whatever it was. It wasn't that very long. And he had a gig. And I was like, well, I'm playing with you, I guess. So we did a benefit for Connor's Heroes, a multi-band benefit.
Okay.
So I just did that.
Just networking.
And networking. And then there was this band called the Diggity Dudes opened up the show at that, I don't know, whatever. But Donnie Atkins from that band saw me play, and they were needing a bass player for that. And also he had a private band, a wedding band on Sam Hill called the Venture Rays. So from that gig, you get the idea, I guess, bottom is just put yourself out there. Keep putting yourself out there. Nobody's going to call you at home sitting at home.
So, full-time musician,
Yes.
What does your day look like? Obviously, you're a day of a show, you've got to, whatever that is, packing up the car, driving there.
Great question.
What's the day look like?
Okay, so my practice time is in the morning. I get my coffee. When my kids are younger, make sure they go to school. I don't have to do any of that stuff now. I've got a college kid and senior, whatever, that thing. So I'll, get my practice going, 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever. Practice for a solid hour, if not two, and then more like an hour, because then I prepare for my lessons. So it takes a lot of time. It's not just the teaching time, but just preparing it for each lesson.
So we had talked about that yet. So you teach lessons as another form of income.
Yeah, I teach piano, I teach guitar, I teach bass, and ukulele.
One of the reasons I wanted you to do this is that you are somebody that I know plays with a hired gun. I don't mean
that's that. I'm proud. I wear that badge with honor. If I do the gig, I will really prepare. I'll create a song list, active on my Spotify and so forth. And I'll create a playlist. And if I don't get music from them, most of the times I don't. It used to be you get a CD and all that stuff. None of that stuff. You just get either a Dropbox, as you know, or I stream. I have a streaming account with Spotify, so I can pull the original if they're doing covers and all that stuff. Originals, of course, I got Dropbox it to me.
So if I'm
you have,
we've done that. Yeah, we played together.
Yeah, of course.
So
he's pretty good actually.
I'm all right. I can do the
chords. You're great. No, you're great.
I let you show up.
I love playing with you. No, it's great.
So if I've got a band looking to hire a musician out, what are some of the things that I should have prepared? So you mentioned music. Charts, I'm guessing, are great. Chord charts would be fantastic.
More information. I always say the more information you can give me, the better prepared I will be. Less surprises.
Right.
So if you do have, and I encourage a band leader to, it's rare we get it, but I encourage them to spend a little money if they can't do it themselves, is to prepare charts, charts that you can really read and get, together would be great. I mean, there's times, of course, I get a lyric chart with the chord symbols over the top, and that's fine too, no doubt about it. But if we can just get a chord chart, that'd be great. It would save some time, and I listen to it, of course. I really do internally. I'm driving around, good time to listen to music.
So a recording then also.
A recording, which is bonus. Yes, recording. Yes, definitely. Because a lot of times, we just don't rehearse it.
Because I
go cold in on it. So
you're subbing in for somebody.
So I'll do that at home. I'll practice at home and rehearse at a rehearsal. I know the songs and just have to fine tune some things that they do it different than the recording. This little bit different, and which is fine. If it's a horn gig, a lot of times some of those gigs or big band gigs, they'll have written charts. They'll have a bass part written.
That's true.
Great.
Which is where practicing sight reading
totally
comes in handy.
Now, I never say it's going to make you, that you have to be a sight reader to be a great musician. That's just a huge fallacy, and that just doesn't make any sense. There's great musicians that can't read a lick, and that's fine. But they have great ears, and they have instincts, and they've been playing a long time. But there's a world of music that is not available to them.
Right. Talk about some of the gear that you're using, that what you find as a hired hand or someone that needs to be mobile and be able to pop in and out. What's kind of stuff you're looking at when you buy gear? As
a working musician, I need something that's dependable. That's the most important thing. It has to be dependable. I'd like it to be really portable. I like fewer bells and whistles in an amp. I'm just like I said, like a working stick, like a practical guy. I'm not a gearhead by any stretch of imagination. I just want something that works. I really want just something. And then I love this Fender Jazz. I got this at the turn of the century in 2000. And gosh, hard to believe, 20 years ago. The setup that I'm playing through now is just a little 12-inch cabinet that I got from a good buddy of mine here in town, and then the amp is it's a Gens-Benz, which they're no longer in business, but it's a Gens-Benz Streamliner, amp. Did a lot of research. I bought it. It's 9 years now. I mean, thousands. I don't know how many. 1,000 gigs on it maybe by now. Whatever, wow. More than that. And this thing was modified, kind of like a Marcus Miller bass. It's not a signature bass by any stretch of imagination. So yeah, we got the Fralins. It's the Leo Kwan Badass Bass Bridge, Sadowski preamp. It's a 77 Jazz on here. Yeah, there you go. Be prepared, guys. I can't tell you how many times where I've been in rehearsals and there's guys who had, I didn't have time. But when I hear this, it just turn off. I've been busy. I didn't have time to listen to anything and so forth. I'll just rehearse. Oh, how does that song go? In the rehearsal. And you've wasted everybody's time.
Well, that seems to be
it's not
a
just
sign.
wasting 2 hours.
That's
if there's 4 guys in the band and besides you, it's 4 times 2. You wasted 8 hours.
It almost seems like if that's the mentality, I didn't really have time, then you're not at that level.
No. How would I, if I was hiring somebody, which I've been in that position and a band leader and so forth, what am I looking for? I want somebody that's prepared. I want somebody that really wants to be there. And even if it's not their favorite music, that's okay. It's not about that. It's about serving the music. These are things I learned in Nashville.
Right.
Serve the song, serve the music. You're never above the music. Nobody is.
Right.
I don't care if you're the most killing jazz player in the world out there and you go doing some pop gig, you are not above those pop tunes.
Right.
By any stretch of the imagination.
What do you bring to this
You still serve that.
Right.
And you bring that same energy and the same attitude to that gig. And be that person that people want to call back. If somebody's consistently late, gigs, rehearsals, whatever, then it's showing that they don't care. They don't care. And they're not really a profession.
Right.
As far as that. So you want to be prepared. You got to have your bag together. Practice at home. Get your basic, you don't have to be a virtuoso with this instrument or any instrument really. Unless you're doing your own artist gig and your own music, and it requires that, if it's a strictly classical or strictly jazz, yes, it takes that effort for that sense of. But just be proficient on your instrument. Or if somebody has their exact they know what they want, I give them what they want. I don't care.
That's the job.
That's what I do.
Right.
Just give them what they want. I don't care if it's one big old whole note over and over again, and that's okay. But I'm going to play the fire out of that whole note, or those half notes or quarter notes or whatever it is. I'm going to play it like I mean it. And then I start thinking more Zen-like when I play stuff like that. Note duration, attack, sustain.
Right.
There's so many other parts of music you can do when things have more of a vibe, like that simple vibe, instead of I'm just flying through different chords, I'm connecting chords, I'm doing all this kind of stuff. Bring some musicality to the gig. Be musical. It's unfortunate sometimes you get this cutthroat thing with musicians. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just trying to make it, it's hard enough doing this business. And we know, and we're trying to be competitive. And I know when you're young, you're really competitive and so forth. And that's a normal thing. But you find out the more that you serve others and help others, you're going to get it back so much more. I'm nowhere near the best or whatever. And that's not even, I want to be my best.
Right.
The best. I don't know what that means, because there's always a faster gun. Always will come up after you as a faster gun. So I just realized, have your own voice, do your own thing. And if people, my job is to make the whole band sound better. Right. That's my job. I never call myself, guys like to call themselves, I'm a rock player, I'm a funk player, I'm a jazz player, and I'm just a player. I just play music. Same 12 notes, right? I never want to be defined by a category. If people want to define me by that, that's fine. I have no control of that. But I want to be the chameleon. I learned a long time ago. The more you can do, I can go and make it legit. A reggae gig, I can make it legit. I can use the fattest bass sound and the more woofy bass sound and get that sound.
I definitely want you to talk about this latest project that you're working on. That you worked on. I guess you still play with them. So Moonshine Society.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's they're a great band out of Washington. They're based out of Washington D.C.
Award-winning, apparently.
They're recently with this record. Yeah. I just loved working at the studio in Bethesda, Maryland. Shout out Mark Williams, Sucker Punch Studios.
There you go.
Great studio.
Am I right that you ended up being a producer?
Yeah, she asked me to produce and kind of co-produce, and I really encouraged her because I had produced a few records. I was actually one of 3 people co-producing. So The engineer, Mark Williams, super talented musician, great engineer, co-produced, and he did a lot of amazing work, and the sounds he got were awesome. Jenny and I, as far as some productions. And
so how can people find you if they want to? I know you play with Moonshine Society still.
So locally in Richmond, I just started working more full-time with the Jangling Reinhardts, which I just love that band. They've been together for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And I work with a great artist for the last 7 or 8 years, Will Gravett from your hometown.
Yep, Fredericksburg.
And he is all like traditional country. I think the most modern thing he does maybe is from the mid-90s or something like that. Also, speaking of which, I was playing with, Donna Dean Stevens.
Yep. Barn Dance.
Barn Dance. Adana is, I don't have enough words to describe her, but she's an amazing person, and that cast is awesome. And
you're a pretty funny follow on on Facebook and stuff. Where can people follow you? Instagram? What do you?
Yeah, I do IG. So I do the Instagram thing and Facebook. I mean, as far as I really don't have my own website. I probably should, I guess, but I feel like these days
website's so 90s.
Honestly, it really is, and I don't really even do business cards anymore.
You don't need them.
I don't. Say, do you have a business card? And I said, I really
Message
don't.
me.
I do message. Here's my number, and mom was just sitting here, just okay. Well, just give me your number. I'll call you right now. You got my number
at Tod Ellsworth.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Todd,
hey,
thanks, man.
Thanks for having me play. It's an honor.
Should we play it out?
Let's play it out.
Can we do Juanita?
Juanita, wow. Okay. I haven't played these tunes in forever. I'm glad you know.
Put you on the spot.